Welcome, everyone. Sascha, Jonathan, so happy to have you with us. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. For our lovely audience members who don't really know you, Jonathan here has generated over $1 million or more in sales from one funnel. Sascha, among others, she has advised influencers, content creators, and many more on visibility strategies, resulting in coverage by the Daily Mail, Good Morning America, and hundreds of news stations across the world. So you guys have done so many things. That's why I only mentioned one and one for each. But I would let you introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about who you are. What are you doing? How are you guys together? And just share a bit more of the magic with us.
Oh, the magic.
Is it my turn?
Of course it is.
So that's hilarious. I go, oh, I forgot we've done those things. We have 4 little kids who we homeschool, and we've created good marketing. So we help good humans get good clients in ethical ways. But because, there are so many marketing practices that can feel sleazy or icky, or just people don't want to do them. I had a one-on-one call today with somebody, and we get to the end of the call. She goes, I fully expected you were going to say blogs, and I don't want to do a blog. I was like, yeah, that's not.
Blogs are totally unethical.
No, stop it. It's not the one she wanted to do. And I was like, yeah, it's not a strategy you need. So we like to work with people and get creative and generate them leads and revenue or visibility, depending whatever they need. And then we work together and do it.
So we've been together now for over 10 years. We've been working together pretty much from the beginning of our relationship, and 8 or so years in this space. But Sascha, from the time I've known her, is one of the smartest people I know, and not just like intelligent smart, like she is intelligent smart and can read like nobody's business. But she is, what I found in business is just a messaging copy strategy genius. I almost like to say savant, but not like Rain Man savant. Like it's like downloaded to her and it comes out of her, and it's always genius. And she underplays it because she doesn't like to feel like a guru or put up on a pedestal, but like that's what she does. But she's also someone that is like the glue. Like I do a lot of the work, like in terms of things in the family, like we co-parent and do things together in the family and in business, but she is literally the glue and is a lot more client facing. And when she does that, whether she's working with a coach and working on a strategy for them, or we're working with our larger clients that like consulting in corporation size, where it's cross-platform, multi-million-dollar business looking to scale to 50, 100 million, she's able to come in and target exactly in such a unique way that is specific to their business. And it's never the same. It's always what works. So what she was saying with the blog is more along of a specific. And so she's just spectacular and will never admit it because she's a perfectionist and is never living up to that level. So that's what she is.
Why, thank you. What about you?
Oh, I leave that to you.
Yeah, I think Sascha, after such an introduction that I was here like,
oh my goodness.
He's my husband.
So Jonathan is a way better peopler person than I am, way better at talking. So like when it's time for the Valentine's Day cards, he writes like the best, longest messages. And I'm like,
love you, boo.
Yeah. So we balance each other out very well. He makes everything run. Like I might have ideas. I could have ideas out the wazoo.
Literally,
do.
Like when I stress her out, her eye twitches. When she stresses me out, she just says, I have an idea.
But he actually makes sure that they run, that they actually happen. And he'll be the one, like when I first came up with the idea for our 7-figure content programs, he's like, okay, so what's next? It's like, well, I'm writing a sales page, which is highly unnecessary as a first step, but whatever. That was what I was insisting I needed to do. So then it's done. And he's like, now what's next? I was like, okay. So he makes sure
Sascha's going to tell you about me by telling you about her. That's how she processes.
Because that's how you make things run. Because I process through by stories. So why would I just say things run when I can give examples?
Oh, okay.
Because content strategy is my jam, and it's way easier if you can give examples of things.
Oh, okay, that's good. Okay.
Yes, he feeds us too, which doesn't sound like a major thing, but I cannot feed us.
Let me get this right. So Sascha, you are the messaging copy genius, and you, Jonathan, feed the kids really well.
That is, but see, that's just gonna feed into some of like the
ammunition,
right? Oh, that's something, because he discounts like the importance of his stuff, but I can't explain it. Like without his, we would not have, for example, a 2 Comma Club award winning funnel if it weren't for him, because he's the one who can make the relationships with people and have the conversations that attract the business, right? I wrote the copy, but he did literally everything else. So us, the first iteration of our agency, those were all people that he was like, hey, they were businesses that we frequented that he would be like, hey, you need help and we can help you with it. So when I say doing, I mean doing of literally every kind. Like without him, I may have brilliant ideas, but they're all in my head. That doesn't have any impact for the world. So the doing does, but he does in literally all of the ways.
Hats down, Jonathan, because as a creative idea person, I am learning that ideas are cheap and implementation, execution, it's what makes the difference.
And so people hold their ideas so precious. Like this, it's like the idea doesn't mean anything without execution. But for people that have execution, but not necessarily the ideas, they don't benefit. Like Jonathan never...
left to my own devices, I would be like in a giant hamster wheel.
Yeah, so here's
like
the
just
visual.
Being very busy but not going anywhere. Where like
the visual is that he's a literal rocket engine, but without any direction. He's just going to spin in circles. And me, if I'm like the nose of the rocket without an engine, I'm not going anywhere. So between the two of us, you put us together, then you have an actual rocket, which is what we do for clients. They come to us and then we're the rocket for them. But similarly, they have to come to us we don't work well with people that don't have an idea, because what rocket can we build? If they come to us and they already have whatever it is, then let's amplify it.
Or they have the first iteration of their rocket. We can go, let's make this rocket better so that it actually gets to your destination.
Yeah.
And what about those people who have to be both things or are only one thing, and maybe they don't have an awesome partner like you guys have? What is your recommendation towards these people?
Most people don't have that. It's a rare quality to have both and be able to navigate it. And I'm going to be completely, I don't know what the word is, the adjective, but straightforward about it is that's why people hire us, is because they get to utilize our genius. If they just hired Sascha, they'd have all these creative ideas without the ability to know how to like shoot the rocket and direct it there, right? If you don't have any ideas, what are you doing in the space, right? Like the people that get into the space at some point have an idea, want to make a difference or do something. They want to help people's lives. They want to change people's lives. If they have a kernel, that can be created into something. But if you're coming with a blank canvas of nothing, that's where it gets challenging for us.
I mean, there's plenty of courses and starting points for people even to find their idea, which to me is a fascinating thing, because I never would have entered the coaching space because I didn't know that people need help with lead generation. So I thought, well, I don't have an idea, so I wouldn't even purchase a course to find an idea, right? And I don't know, because I've often wondered that. I go, if I had an idea, but I didn't have the execution, what would I do? And I don't know that I have an answer. The thing that I've been thinking on a lot lately is how much money we've spent before in the name of supporting what we thought were weaknesses that weren't actually weaknesses. So I would say if somebody has a strong execution strength or a strong idea strength, then maybe create, not even paying somebody, because it's so easy to pay so much money for things that you could get supported. And this is a bigger discussion, but because I'm not a fan of don't get unsolicited business advice from people whose shoes you don't want to be in. I see a lot of that in Facebook groups. People are like, hey, what should I do? And then they get advice and it's not good advice. And people have plenty of confidence in giving bad advice. If you have strong execution and somebody else has strong vision, then just post the question on social and create a partnership where almost like a little brain trust or a 2-person mastermind. Make sure the person is at a similar revenue or growth stage from you, but you could create a peer mastermind that way. And yes, it will eventually disband when people are at different revenue levels, but you can continue to create these partnerships without having to spend a lot of money. What are the fastest ways to get your result while also retaining revenue?
Well, what if somebody doesn't want to partner with somebody?
Well, then they're not going to grow a business, because we're on the internet, but connections are the most important thing. Peopling.
No, I agree with you in that, but you're saying form a partnership to grow the business. What if they want to just do it on their own?
No. I don't mean a business partnership. I mean like a pure mastermind where you're invested in communicating with the other person, maybe setting up accountability. Maybe if this person can share their skill set in planning and this person can help the other person refine their vision.
Got it. Okay.
Utilizing your opposing strengths with friends.
And I think that's an interesting thing, because when you pay high ticket, which we've done a lot, like we've come literally full circle back to what we started with, because we got some really unsound advice at the beginning, which took us off in a direction that has literally redirected us back to where we are.
Only we spent like 200 grand in.
And now we've up-leveled our
Absolutely.
our abilities and working with much higher clients, and there's more confidence behind it. But sometimes where you start is actually where you need to be, but you just don't have the knowledge at it. It's that you don't know what you don't know. And then somebody tells you something because you know you don't know it. And then you just go off on this random road. And then when you get the knowledge, you're like, oh man, I was right all along. I just didn't know it.
Now that we understand the background and how you guys work together and the strengths of each and every one of you, I was started with this question. You worked with lots of people, lots of different industries, lots of coaches. And I want to ask you, what are their biggest challenges, the biggest problems that you see them face?
So they tend to depend based on the level of their business. And something that I always tell our clients is it's all normal. Everything that every struggle or every challenge somebody's experiencing, it's all normal. But I will say something really common is people not realizing they have the ability to reinvent any aspect of what they're doing. We have a client who doesn't like sales calls, but she's doing them herself. And I was like, there's always more than one option. That's what people don't realize. So I go, one thing is you can hand off your sales call. The other one is she's like, yeah, but they're only, the average cost of investment is $750. I go, oh, they don't need sales calls at all. So instead we're putting a little check mark that's like, I'm ready to buy already. I don't need the call. Or another one that's like, I have some questions, we can Voxer them. So she's able to remove, because half the time they're going to buy, and if they're not going to. So the idea that you can,
it's not linear.
It's not. You can
refine, black and white.
You can refine any part of your process to suit you. Whereas most people will buy into different programs where they're taught there's one way and then it doesn't work and they go, now what? But you can get creative in any point of where you are.
And I think we say that when we work with clients, but what's interesting is that I'm challenged with giving one answer, because every client will have a different challenge. One could have a lead gen problem because they don't have the leads coming in. One could have a sales problem. One, it's neither. Their messaging and clarity is just so often fuzzy that nobody understands what they're doing. And as soon as they get that right, then the floodgates happen.
Or let's say they're even higher level, right? So let's say they have all their things that are working. He's grumbling at me because
I was getting there, but sorry, no, it's fine. Forget it. You're the wife. I'm gonna go cook some food.
Oh, stop it. So let's say that they have their things that work, but it can be hard to hand off. Like I see so many people once they're at higher levels, 7 figures plus, who can't hand off their copywriting or can't hand off their sales page. You can make something work at one level, but then when you want to go to the next, there's always new sets of challenges.
Oh, for sure. When you're first starting on it, you're doing everything. And at a certain point, if you want to you'll hit a ceiling and you can only do so much. For you to break through, you have to let go of the things that you're controlling. That's probably a big struggle, is helping people through letting go of the control in their business, because they want to hit a certain thing, but they want to feel like they've done it all because they don't trust anybody. And I can speak from experience of nobody can do it as good as you. Nobody cares about your business as much as you. But at the end of the day, and this is a conversation we have, and thankfully for her, is we want to be the face and we want to work with our clients, but we don't want to be doing all the work in the business, right? And so it's like we get so caught in doing it, and you need to place those systems in place so that you can relinquish. And there's a growing pain. There's a, you bring someone in to hand off to something. You've been doing it for so long, how to do it like with your eyes shut, hands tied behind your back. They're going to have to learn. You're going to have to give them grace to screw up a little bit till they get it right. But the only way for you to do that is to learn that.
I would say though, because when you say we want to be the face, I would be perfectly happy to not be the face. I would love to just have a course that goes, but the thing is, and it's very interesting, I think it's that
you're still the face. They're buying it for you.
But I would love personally to not do that, because I'm a creative. I'd like to do other things, but what's most effective is people seeing that I can do it as a minority woman, mother of 4 who homeschools. That is most resonant for people, right? So there's the other piece too about being willing to do the things that might be uncomfortable, that you might not want to do. Like there's a lot of what you would call contrary actions that are the most effective ones as well. When you think of contrary actions, most people, when they start hiring, we've made the mistake too, go, oh, I need an EA or a VA. And then you mishire like repeatedly. But there's so much of seeing what other people are doing online, and you think you need to be able to do it as well, and that it's going to work. And then when it doesn't work, there's always a, wait, what's wrong? So the ability to question everything and go, okay, it probably can be easier or more obvious. What is it?
But I also think part of how we've gotten to where we are and the people that we're surrounded with that have gotten to where they are is also getting things wrong.
Yes.
I think that, and it's part of the process. It's part of your growth. It's that whole thing of like, if you don't get it wrong, you don't learn. I think that's really important to realize is, okay, I got something wrong. I made the wrong hire. I bought the wrong course or whatever it is. Big deal. You're going to learn from it and it's going to put you on the path. Like, you can't be afraid to make those decisions for fear of getting it right all the time. Because if you do that, you're going to be stuck in this. You'll never get anywhere because you're going to constantly be frozen in like paralysis. And you see people that just literally go and are 80% of the time, 90% of the time are getting it wrong, but they're still moving forward. Okay. What next? We're ready for you.
That was a big one. I was just really enjoying it. I was thinking you were talking about some of these challenges, but how does a process for a new coach looks like? Like from getting started, creating that Facebook account, profile, whatever, to getting their first clients, to hiring a VA, to maybe then hiring a coach, a marketing person. Like you were talking about those systems, Jonathan. What are those systems? Well, again, it can look differently for different people, but there are commonalities and there are certain steps that all of these coaches want to build online.
I mean, I wish there was one answer. We're working with a client now who is brand new in the health coaching space and life coach. I would say the most important thing, it's funny because we're talking, she's like, I've got my website and I want to do SEO for it and all these sort of things. And I'm like, just focus on you, showing up, be the brand, have the right message and share that. And yes, having a website, great. Having a funnel, great. Having an email follow-up sequence, great. But at the beginning, when your revenue isn't coming in, you want to keep it lean and agile, and you want to just be able to show up and be of service. And honestly, talk about it a lot, but also don't just talk about it.
The tech pieces can be safety blankets and security blankets. So the desire to have a website, the desire to have a sales page, but you could get away with so much with confidence. So you don't actually need those. What you need, honestly, and it's the only thing I ever recommend faking it until you make it, is confidence. Because you will, when you act as though you have confidence, then you will develop it. But if you know what you're meant to sell and you know why you're selling it, then discuss those things on social. Obviously, update your profile, make sure your cover photo is fresh and you're visible. Make sure your profile and your cover photo and your about section and bio is clear. We recommend never using I help statements, because why not just say whatever it is that you do instead? True business owners don't say I help. There are exceptions, obviously, but just say whatever it is you do in a more action-oriented way.
On a side note on that, I will say this. If as you're watching this, you want to know more about that, connect with us. We have a workshop we did called, basically it's like how to build to create your social intros. And it's like how not to use the I help statements. And we'll be happy to get that to you.
And the reason why you do that is that if you're active on social, people are always going and peeking at your profile. So if your profile shows what you do in a way that you stand out, because I think there are some big name marketers that say, I help this, but they're already established. They can get away with subpar practices because they're established. If you're newer, you want to be more innovative, more cutting edge. You want to stand out and build that trust with your people. So you have whatever your tagline is, and then you show up and you share the things like why you do what you do and what differentiates you and what you do. And the easiest way to do that is generally people are doing or selling something because they see that other people or the majority of people in a space are doing it incorrectly. So when you share those things, people go, oh, okay. And they're absolutely likely to hop right into your inbox. And that's the best way to get your first clients. And then connect with everybody who's liking what you're sharing. Build personal relationships, hop on calls with them. It's actually so simple to get those first clients, but people generally want to start hamster wheeling on tech pieces rather than just human connection. And
I would also say too, it's like, somebody, don't sit there and wait for someone to show up and ask if they can give you money. Offer that you want to let you.
Yeah.
Like put the invitation out there. You see someone commenting or liking your post, like she said, just be like, you can just be like, start a conversation with them, open it up, those sort of things. People sometimes are just waiting for those. And as you get further into the space, which we've done it with not a fancy website, we have people that we know that sell $50,000, $100,000 courses on a Google Doc. It doesn't have to be fancy and slick, but you just have to get out there and share it. And what you'll find, at least for us, what we preach and teach on is like how you show up in an authentic way, how it's really you, not the errors of somebody else, not the every life is perfect. Like if you follow and see mostly her profile, but like it's life, and what is shared is real and authentic in our family and our business, and things that are pretty and things that are ugly. And what that does is that attracts the people we want to work with. It's not like share drama,
right?
Like that sort of thing, but it's essentially just be real. Like really just be real and show up, and then people will find affinity for you, and they'll be like, I like you. What do you do? I like you. I want to work with you. Or they'll just start following, and you'll have people watching. And that's...
I'll give an example on the messy or the ugly part, so that's clear, because that is one thing that when you're sharing that some people misfire on. And how do you know what's the actual best things to be sharing in the name of, quote, being real? There are some people out there that teach that you should do a, quote, vulnerable share, which I find manipulative and inauthentic. It's not about intentionally being vulnerable. It's about sharing the things that you might think you wouldn't share. So in the case of examples of things that I've shared that other people go, I wouldn't, is when I had challenges breastfeeding, sharing those. But I usually share as I'm overcoming it. Sometimes, yeah, I've asked questions like, I have a child who just has shark teeth. She had her adult teeth grew in behind her bottom teeth. Didn't know that was a thing. So asking for feedback on that, right? Who's experienced this? And you don't always have to have a solution to the thing you're sharing. Sometimes it's just the ability to start a conversation around something that interests you too. So it's not all manicured pretty pictures, but I always consider what is it that you want the person reading it to feel. And the best content is either inspiring, entertaining them, or humorous. Anything that elicits anything outside of that. So sometimes people can share things that are what you would call ugly content, right? Because I do take content so seriously, because it can really impact your business, that sometimes people share things. And if it causes the audience to feel pity for you, that's not cool. Or anger. I say that your audience can either have a pitchfork or a credit card, so choose wisely. Like, you don't want to anger your audience. You don't want to have them pitying you or feeling sorry for you. So you could share the same piece of information in any number of ways that could elicit a different response as content creators. It is our responsibility with how we are, and we can't be completely in control of how we make somebody else feel, but the intention with which we create something, if it's intended to entertain, inspire, or make them laugh, then odds are you're not going to depress them. And that can make you a lot of revenue.
But you're, okay, so for those coaches that are new, you're a pro.
Right.
Like,
that's still an easy rule of thumb, going, is this thing going to entertain?
I understand that, but you're Michael Jordan.
Okay.
Like, doing this, right? The kid that's on the JV team that's, I want to play varsity and go pro, should have that sentence, is it doing one of these three things? Yeah. But also not be afraid to take the chance and get it wrong.
Oh, goodness. It's like how we were talking before about
ideas.
Ideas are a dime a dozen. And content is the same way. You don't hold any of it too close to your chest. Just keep doing it with the spirit of experimentation.
And know that you'll get better. You may do it and you may trip and stumble and you may
get zero likes.
Or alienate someone because it hits a certain way. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong or bad. It's just you have to learn. And the only way you can learn is by doing it and recalibrating along the way.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I know you mentioned the workshop, Jonathan, but I wanted to ask Sascha, any sort of specific tips on what works for coaches in terms of their Facebook intro, bio? What is it that really attracts? Should you make your offer visible? Should you focus on something else, showing that human nature, or that only comes after you build some credibility, authority?
This is such a fun question. So while I always say you can wait on your sales page and you can wait on your website, a great lead magnet is like the best starting point ever. I don't support the idea of link trees or anything where it drives to a ton of links, because it adds confusion and that slows your buyer or conversion process. So having your one lead magnet in your bio across all profiles is beautiful, because you can start building your email list from the very beginning, and then you can start communicating with your people by email. If you're spending the time to create content, you might as well email it to the people who want to hear from you. So you start with a great lead magnet, and then your bio should have discussing you or what you do in a bold, engaging way. So I'm always experimenting with mine. I'll give examples of mine. Sometimes mine said things like human psych wizard, copy genius, something else, right? Another time mine said, like, if a marketing team and a sales team had a very smart baby, you'd get me. So sometimes I'll draw like a little visual. Sometimes I'll just put myself in like bullet points. I don't remember what mine has right now.
I mean, but it also changes a lot.
I'm always experimenting.
Your bio, your cover photo, your banner, like you're
and I don't
changing those up.
Some people teach that you want to have them, especially on Instagram, like keyword optimized. I don't believe that, because that's great, right? Somebody searches health coach, there's thousands. So you're far better off differentiating yourself by whatever your tagline is, yourself in a bold, engaging way. Like what's the best case of somebody working with you? Put that down into one sentence, make that your bio, and then connect with people. And then suddenly you're the one who's getting tagged and your stuff is getting shared. That's way more effective than trying to optimize for some algorithm or hashtag.
Which I think is also very different when you're in LinkedIn, for example. People, like my bio needs to be completely redone in LinkedIn, because then people, they don't want to hear about you. They want to know what you can do for them, because it's a much more of a business-driven environment. So if you're talking, like mine currently says like ClickFunnels, I've done this, expert that, and it's like, you know what, that's not going to serve me, because people are like, well, what can you do for me? Whereas in Facebook, because it's personal connection, they want to know about you. And I think based on your lead magnet thing, put your best lead magnet first, and you can always change that up. Mm-hmm. And for those that are listening that are newer in this game that may not have a lead magnet, put your YouTube channel that you haven't created yet. Put your group that you're creating, have it go somewhere where you can build the relationship.
Yes.
Right?
What I recommend doing is, because I like to keep people, like collect them however you can. So if you don't have something, I'd recommend just cross promoting to one of your other platforms. If you have no link at all from Facebook, send to your Instagram. Or if you have no link at all, just create a landing page, subscribe to my email list, like get my emails and a link to your emails. Like you don't technically even need if people like you, they just want to get your emails. So you could literally just have an email opt-in that looks nice with nothing else that you could drive to.
Got it. And where do you place this lead magnet? Because I know you said in your bio you put that sentence, but where do you place the lead magnet? Is it the cover or where?
So there's any number of ways you could do it. On Instagram, it allows you to put one link. So that's where I would link it. On Facebook, you can put a link directly in the bio if it's short enough.
So you can use like a bit.ly to shorten it too.
So I've used bit.lys if we have a workshop coming up. I'll put like my bio, little info. And so obviously at that point, sometimes my bio goes away entirely and it'll say free workshop on blank and that. So sometimes that's my whole Instagram bio is just promoting whatever a thing is. Yeah, I think those are the two main ones where you're dealing with and then obviously on Facebook as well, your about section, they let you put a few links. So you can have your link to your group, your link to your website. I would recommend not overwhelming people with too many links and making sure that sometimes people will put links to like 4 different business ideas they have, and then you're just adding confusion. But I think I have our group and my Instagram and then maybe something else. It's all cohesive though.
Got it. And in terms of messaging, what is actually messaging? How do you define messaging?
Oh, I like that. Messaging is how you talk about whatever the movement or the theme is that you're doing or you're creating. So it could be like content messaging, brand messaging, or different words. The brand messaging kind of describes how you're talking about the brand itself. And then content messaging is like, how are you taking it and using content for the specific messaging?
And would you say that it's all designed to elicit an emotion or a feeling in and around?
Your messaging is an overall thing. Yes, how is it designed to make someone feel? What is the bigger picture here? It's instead of, okay, I'll give an example. The call that I was on earlier, she has a personal concierge service. And so she calls herself a lifestyle concierge. But the actual reason why she's doing it is she has a heart for serving others. And she knows that the cost of not having a village for a mom takes a huge toll on mental health. So the reason why she does this service is actually to help the mental health of moms, which is completely different messaging than, hey, I do your food prep, your home organization, and your blank, right? She's creating community and she one-on-one. So when we're creating her brand messaging, that's also creating the culture because it's a franchise model for the other people that she hires. Because for her scaling, we're going to place a system to the one-on-one work, the way she grew it as one person, so that each person she hires is following the same one-on-one person-to-person system for rapid growth. So it's, why do you really do what you do and how is it different?
And on that note, for a lot of these people, because they are the brand, mm-hmm. right? And they are the message. I'll speak of an example. We have someone that we are friends with. They show up and they'll post about their business, and then they'll post about like serious issues going on, and then they post about, you know, how they're helping make lots of money here, and then they're posting on like apartments are too expensive, And it's so not cohesive that it's almost like schizophrenic, that you realize that when you're messaging, like how you show up and what you are, it's all reflective.
Yeah, sometimes you can determine somebody's brand messaging just from scrolling what they're already posting on social. So you are creating a brand message intentionally or unintentionally. So it's better to be intentional about it.
And that's on, if you're posting on social, that's if you have a YouTube channel, that's if you have a website, if you have a blog, whatever social media outlet or content outlet you're using can start to create that message.
Got it. Okay, that was a super interesting distinction. So the messaging you use for branding and then the messages you use for content, right? When you say content messaging, do you mean how to use the content to achieve a goal? So let's say, for example, on Facebook, there are all of this value posts, usually those that have one line space. Is there a specific way to use that in your favor to convert, get those leads, get the clients? Can you share with us some tips? How do you make people press see more? How do you write that content?
Yes. Okay. So I'll explain. Messaging is kind of just messaging. Like brand messaging is kind of what you're defining. The content is like a tool for, so if I'm saying like content messaging, it's more just like we're using content as the vehicle for your brand messaging. Literally anything you're creating anywhere is content. But what is the message you're conveying from it? So I am not a fan of, because our background's lead generation, what's the fastest way to generate people to grow your business, right? So I'm not a fan of a lot of the traditional content structures because they tend to be ineffective. They don't tend to go deep enough. So let's say you want to do a value post, right? Let's just say, here's a coach, they want to do what we're calling a value post. And I would ask why. And then what is it that you're trying to say? What is the point of the post? Usually there's a deeper way you can say whatever that thing is. And the best posts, the ones that generate people in your inbox, are not generally the ones that get the best interaction, or the best discussion. But the ones that do generate good discussion are helpful because it's great for the algorithm. You can't post all, people need to see your stuff. But I'll say generally, if you want to provide value, talk about either your work with clients or something that's surprising that's come up. Or anytime that you find yourself writing a long comment on somebody else's post, you create your own status update using that content. Those will always do well because you're responding to somebody else's thing and asking a question, and other people will like it. It'll serve other people. I look at the posts that I've done recently that have done really well. And I'll say too, is what you'd write on somebody's comment, you can dive right in. Whereas if you share it on your own, because it's going to be longer, you do want them to hit see more. So it's basic copywriting is whatever you open it with. Your opening line is to get them to read the second, is to get them to click see more. And you want the whole thing to have readability, but as long as those first two words, so sometimes the first two lines I will play with longer than the rest just to grab attention, because it doesn't matter how great the content is down below. If those first two lines aren't grabbing their attention in some way, the time is wasted. But that's also why you don't want to hold content too close to your chest or too precious, because if it doesn't work, then try it again in a few days in a new way.
Yeah, and in terms of one thing to say is that's a good lesson not to keep it too close to your heart, just because there were times when I invested literally hours for this one single post and it didn't work. And then other times when I just spent 10 minutes to write something very quickly on the spot and it just worked so well. So I think, again, as you were saying, just keep practicing, keep trying out, and don't attach yourself to just one thing. But in terms of this sort of first line and second line, so you would call them probably the hook and then maybe the second line.
Yeah.
What should be the hook about? Is it about what they get out if they read the post? And what should be that second line that should push them to press more?
I'm going to look at mine right now for my last one and see, because for me, it's so second nature that I don't think about it. Okay. So on one of them, I just did a post and it ended with a whole, I'm currently accepting new clients. And what I wanted to talk about, I'll give an example. In the case of this post is I wanted to talk about that I expect clients to share all kinds of things with me, even though we're talking strategy. So I opened it with the client. So I said, sometimes something will spill out of a client's mouth and they'll pause and say, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, or sorry, I'm oversharing. And the whole point of the post is that my clients generally already have some kind of mental health support because entrepreneurship is hard. And I do expect them to tell me things because it always influences their capacity for creativity and bravery and boldness and all the things you need to generate a business. So that did really well. And I opened that with, quoting a client. I'll also share things like people will go engagement posts. I never do engagement posts. I just share things that make me laugh. I don't want to say it because it's going to activate it. I said ALEXA, play 2000s hip hop. And then ALEXA said playing old school hip hop. I said, excuse me. And then I was like, this device must be bored and trying to start a fight. I got like nearly 60 people thought that was funny. But really, I was just sharing something that I thought was funny. But there is no guarantees because I look at others that I did. I was like, oh, this is a cute picture of me. 3 likes. But so I'm trying to find the one though. I posted, oh, here we go. I posted one. It only got 4 comments. It only got 12 likes. But I had one of the biggest names in the industry DM me and say, I'd like to talk about this. It's the kind of post you're thinking no one would read. It is a really long post about and at the end I said, this is obviously a very niche concept, and I don't know that I'll market it heavily because a lot goes into a 7+ figure sales page. But if you want to add some nerd level marketing to your business, let's chat. So don't be afraid to talk above the head of most of your audience. Most people are afraid of that. Most people really want to be relatable. You're always relatable to someone. And when you're posting the high level stuff, you're going to talk to that's when you get the most surprising DMs. So that's why we're like, sales page, website. No, all you need is confidence. Show up with your confidence, build connections. And then after that, you can add in all the tech or programs or whatever you need. But it's just simplicity in the beginning. We can say that having paid a lot to go, oh, it's just simplicity.
And also talking to the wrong people.
Yeah.
Like what she just said is so powerful. It's like, let's say you're here and you're like, wow, I really want to work with these people. Well, say the thing that's going to attract them. Don't talk to the people at your level or below, because then you're going to get the people that don't have the money, don't want to pay. But if you talk up, you'll end up elevating yourself. You'll be surrounded by people that you want to aspire to be, right? You always hear, you are the 5 people you spend the most time with, right?
Your content can attract them.
Why not just talk to those people and have them show up? Because they're like, wow, what you're saying is like right there for me.
But Jonathan, question, how do I talk to those people if I'm not at that level yet, whether it's called imposter syndrome or whatever, or faking it till you make it? How do I talk to those people? And also, do I even know what I'm talking about in order for me to confidently talk about that at that level?
Of course you are. You just say the thing. You say the things and you don't assume people are stupid. That's really what it is. When you talk at your most intelligent. Now, here's the thing. Let's say you're dumb. And I'm not saying any of you are dumb. Let's say you're dumb and you're speaking at the top of your dumb level. You're speaking to people that are probably smarter than you. And you're going to up your level. You don't want to speak to the people that are dumber than you. And I'm using a horrible word. But let's say you're smart. You talk at your highest level of intelligence, right? And that's going to flutter between sometimes having moments of like inspiration and jumping into this lane, and sometimes like being right there. And that's going to attract the people that are higher than you and are at your level, and you'll improve. And the people that are below you and all of that aspect will go, wow, and maybe try to aspire to be that. But have you ever watched a TV show or watched a movie or watched something where they treat the audience, they're just not smart, and you're like, this is stupid. But when you treat the audience like they're really smart, you're so much more engaged. You're like, wow.
Generally speaking, people are told to talk to a certain level of people, to use smaller words, but for us, we tend to attract really bright people that have been told they're too much, too smart, too whatever. Be the most whatever it is version of yourself, and you will attract the right people. So you can't, like for me, sharing marketing nerd speak attracted like the sort of person to be a dream client. But if I'm following the rules of, you need to talk simpler, then there's far more competition with all the people that feel comfortable talking at that level. So I would talk at the highest level of your own comfort.
Yeah, you can really easily, based on this, the easiest analogy is sports. Play at the pro level, even if you're not a pro. Play the best you can, all out, right? Practice, learn, do the best, but play at a high level, and you will continue to get better, and people that are higher than you will want to play with you. Now, you may not be the best when you're playing with the highest level, right? But you'll grow. Whereas if you were at your level and you're playing, but you're playing with people lower, they may go, oh, wow, but you're not improving. But they're still going to go, oh, wow, right? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And again, that empowering voice is there.
It's me.
Also, Sascha, I know you have a call if you need to go.
I can wrap this up.
You wrap it up. I'm gonna hop
Yes.
out of
Perfect.
Many, many, many.
Bye and thank you instead of just splitting.
Bye, thank you.
Okay, so now we have one-on-one over here. So tell us, Jonathan, what is the secret to success?
Oh man.
This can go in any way. I really said it in a funny way, but it seems like you have an answer. So I'm gonna let you.
Secret to success. I think it's multifaceted because there isn't one. Like I was a professional actor for years, and there is no one path to success. You could do it 50 different ways, and people get to success that way. In the coaching space, in the entrepreneur space, and it's not, oh, just don't give up. Like no, it's take consistent action, but consistency is a myth. You're going to have good days and bad days, good weeks and bad weeks. Continue to take action, learn from those around you, consume as much as you can, and do the work. Do the work on yourself, do the work in your business. But it also depends on what do you define? You have to define what success is. So how can you create success in your life in a way that empowers you? I think about my dad. Work, shoveling papers. There's always more work, right? That was how we defined. Like when you meet your maker, when it's all said and done, what do you want? He made a lot of money that he couldn't take with him. He worked a lot, So what do you want your story to be? What's your legacy and all of that? And sometimes I get caught up in we had a great month. We're successful. We had a bad month. We're not successful. Well, that's a roller coaster. I can't control that. But and this is a work in progress for me too. What if I continue to work on the fact that I'm able to share love with my family, my wife, and my 4 kids on a daily basis? And that's a success. I get to take part in their life and watch them grow and help mold them. That's a success. And the other things just happen to be bonus, right? Are we defined by what we do or who we are? But if we were talking, let's say we're talking to you right now as a coach who wants to hit the next level and how you do that and what you define as success. Well, is it hitting 10K a month? Is it hitting that 50K a month? Is it hitting 7 figures? Is that really what success? I mean, really, is that what success is? It's nice. It'll feel good for a second. You buy that new dream car with your successful money, and that feeling is good until it's gone that next week. Or somebody dings the side of the car and you're like, oh, and you get, because you're tied to these things. So it's honestly a much bigger conversation. And I would say you'll have more success in your business by having more success in the little things in your life that have more value, better relationship with yourself. Let's say you're not even in a relationship, a better relationship with yourself, right? Those kind of things.
I think Sascha would have loved to hear all of this because this was beautiful. Honestly, I think this is a great way to end this awesome episode because it really comes down to that why, that very important why that we should all understand before we decide to go on a race, to pursue any goal. We should understand why is it that we even want that thing and really try to go deep. Is it because that's what society says it's success? Is it because that's what our maybe parents told us? Is it because we really want it deep down? And I think that's a great way to end it. For anyone who would like to find out more about anything related to this podcast, about messaging, about funnels, branding, marketing, you know who you can go to. You can easily find them on their Penside profile. It's penside.com/x/what's good, GUUD. And there you can find obviously their social accounts, their Facebook group, and many other places where you can connect with them. Any last words, Jonathan, to share with our listeners?
I just say for us being able to share this, it's always a treat for us. We're real people, like connection and all of that. So if one thing jumped out at you, if questions have come up, if anything, we invite you. Like a lot of people feel like they can't do anything unless there's an invitation. In your lives and your business and all of that, don't wait for permission. Ask for forgiveness, not permission. But here is your permission to connect with us. We have a really wonderful community on Facebook. And to get there, it's group.whatsgood.co. And that's good with 2 U's. So group.whatsgood.co. And come and join us and partake in the fun. Maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you'll meet some amazing people. And that's it.
A pleasure to have you and Sascha with us. I love the energy. I love the way you guys work. And really thank you for all of the great tips, tricks, and just being real with us, and Don just putting that straight face. You were real, and I very much appreciate that. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Of course, thank you so much. And I'll say thank you for Sascha too. But this was great. You're amazing, and I love what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you to our awesome listeners who stayed till the end. We shall see you for the next awesome episode of our podcast. See you soon. Bye bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll be releasing new ones every Wednesday. Make sure to subscribe and rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast platform to give other people the chance to discover us too.